The next morning was a nightmare. The island looked like it had aged 100 years overnight. Lush green crops, the pride of our village, were shriveled and brown, clinging to the dry earth like brittle skeletons. The wells, once overflowing with cool, clear water, were now just dusty pits. Down at the docks, a sight that turned my stomach. Fish floated belly up, their silver scales dull and lifeless against the murky water. A grim silence hung over the harbor, broken only by the mournful creak of the boats. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, what this meant. The curse of the Nuckelavee had begun. I remembered the stories from the ancient scrolls, words I'd once dismissed as old wives' tales. They said the demon could poison the very land and sea with its pestilent breath. And now, we were living that nightmare. The curse seeped into every corner of our lives, a creeping dread that was impossible to escape. The livestock, once fat and healthy, fell sick, their cries weak and pitiful. People's skin turned a sickly, pale white, and a strange cough racked the village dry. Hacking cough that produced a fine black dust, as if the air itself was turning to ash in our lungs. Fear, thick and suffocating, settled over our homes. We were dying and we didn't know why. In desperation, I sought out old Hera, the village elder. Her eyes, usually so full of life, were clouded with a deep, ancient sorrow. She knew more than the rest of us, had seen more winters than anyone could count. I found her staring out at the blighted sea from her cliffside hut. "Old Hera," I pleaded, my voice cracking. "What is happening to us?" She turned to me, her face a mask of grim resignation. "Once awakened, Einar," she said, her voice a low whisper, "the Nuckelavee does not stop. It spreads decay. It will not rest until the island itself begs for death." Her words hit me like a physical blow. The finality in her tone terrified me. "There must be a way," I insisted, grabbing her frail arm. "A weapon? A ritual? Anything. Anything." Hera looked at me, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. "Fighting it is not the answer. Not yet," she warned. "To confront the creature, you must first understand why it has returned. Its rage is not without reason." She gestured for me to follow, leading me away from the village, towards the forbidden cliffs at the island's northernmost tip. The path was treacherous, and the blighted air made every breath a struggle. Finally, she stopped before a fissure in the rock face, an opening so narrow and draped in shadow I'd never noticed it before. This was the Cave of Echoes, a place of forgotten history. "The answers you seek are in there," Hera said, her voice echoing slightly against the stone. "The truth of our past is carved into the walls. Go. Learn." With a deep breath, I squeezed through the opening into the darkness beyond. Inside, the air was cool and still. As my eyes adjusted, I saw the ancient carvings covering every surface of the cave walls. They depicted a story, a history long erased from our village's memory. I saw images of the Nuckelavee, not as a mindless monster, but as a terrifying force of nature, being wrestled and bound. The carving showed a great battle, and at its center, an ancient sea guardian, a being of immense power, imprisoning the demon beneath the waves, sealing it away with powerful magic. The islanders of that time were shown honoring the guardian, living in harmony with the sea. But as I followed the story along the winding walls of the cave, the images changed. They became darker, more disturbing. Generations passed. The carvings showed new villagers, our ancestors, forgetting their pact with the sea. They showed them taking more than they needed, their fishing nets scraping the seabed bare, their settlements polluting the pristine waters. Greed, destruction, a complete disregard for the balance of nature. Then came the most shocking revelation of all. The final set of carvings depicted the magical seal, the very prison holding the Nuckelavee, beginning to crack and fade, and the reason was clear. The seal was tied to the health of the ocean, to the balance the Guardian had sworn to protect. It had weakened because of us, because of what our people had done. The demon hadn't simply returned for bloodlust or random chaos. It had returned for revenge. It was our own actions, our own avarice, that had unleashed this plague upon us. We weren't just the victims of the curse. We were its cause. The weight of that truth was crushing. We had awakened our own doom. I stumbled out of the cave, the setting sun casting long, skeletal shadows across the dying land. The black dust in the air seemed thicker now, a choking reminder of our guilt. Thank you for watching, and if you're enjoying this story, please consider liking and subscribing for the next chapter.